Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning.
And I'm Trinity French.
And we are your business coaches at Wired to Change.
With the number 2.
We help you get your business to the level you want it to be so you can enjoy the life of a small business owner.
Insert all the things that are good about business here.
And you are dressed as a successful small business owner today.
I am. I truly believe that if you dress for the houses you want to sell and the clients that you want to serve, then they will come to you.
We will, once you introduce our guest, we'll bring her into the conversation that started that. You'll get a kick out of this. So, but yes, you are correct. And I have dressed for radio. So
yeah. Well, I got a new necklace and I felt like I needed a reason to wear it.
Okay.
Which, hey, Thursday is a good reason.
Yeah. Who'd that come from?
It came from this amazing place called Target. Yeah. Okay. I can't walk into a Target without spending a couple $100.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sickness.
I'm a fan. Right.
All right.
Let's get to the guest.
So here we are with our very, 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 very special guest, the one, the only, Miss Christine Walorz. And we have been friends now for a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few
Not
years
more
now.
Than two.
Not more than two.
No.
But it feels like more than 2. Because you are one of our favorite fellow networkers.
I was waiting for the, I wanted to know what the asterisk was.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you're also an amazing life insurance agent.
Thank you.
You have an awesome reputation.
Yes, I feel like it's my birthday.
It could be your birthday with all these compliments, but we are really excited to have you today.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So the clothing story comes from way back when. I think 3 o'clock on a Sunday in Walmart, you're free to wear whatever you want. And Trinity disagrees. And I understand because she said, what she said was she can't wear her bleach-stained Michigan sweatshirt, but she didn't have to put on dress and makeup and heels. And I get that. To which I told her I would not judge you if you were my realtor and I saw you in a bleach-stained Michigan. It's like, it's Sunday, it's
the middle
Walmart.
Of the day.
It's summertime, you just
Sunday.
finished, yard work.
Yeah,
I got
maybe.
no problem with it.
But at the same time, if I can be buttoned up and polished, even in my athletic attire, which I have purposeful, cute athletic clothes that are comfy that I can still wear out but look pulled together.
Yeah.
Look at like Kate Hudson, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
She raised the bar on how you should look in your athletic wear.
She, what's the name of the word? Fabletic.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in, I think that how you dress affects your mood. So on the days that I actually put on pants, I feel really, really good.
Don't laugh, Christine. Do not laugh. Okay?
No, I'm just laughing because it's so true.
I know.
It is. And today I was doing a presentation, and of course, people only see you from the chest up, but I felt really good with my dress pants on the bottom.
Girl.
Yeah.
And when I'm on a Zoom and I have my dress pants on, I tend to show people.
Ooh, hey, look
it's
at me.
good. This
I'm
is
wearing
like
pants.
not filmed.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm like, look, it's
Okay.
pants. It's a good day when we have pants on.
Well, let's move on to life insurance. Way
Okay,
better subject.
sure.
Although, I don't know if you're familiar with Christine's background before she got into life insurance.
I am not.
18 years in different roles with Bed Bath & Beyond. Right?
Ooh.
You didn't need to give them a plug.
Hey.
But yeah. Yes, 18 years in a few different roles, but mostly the same role.
What did
Should I
you do for?
expound on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was a trainer. I was a trainer for Bed Bath & Beyond for many, 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 many years.
What kind of things need to be trained at Bed Bath
Oh,
& Beyond?
you would be surprised what I know about sheets, down comforters, pans, coffee, toasters, espresso machines, cotton blankets versus wool blankets versus synthetic blankets. Oh, girl.
Wow, you are like a housewares expert.
It's still up there.
You know what? You could have a side business where you consult with brides and help them come up with their wedding registry.
That's the other thing I used to do. Yeah. So I used to manage the wedding registry. I was customer service manager. It was sort of like a multi-hat role, not multi-purpose. But so for a couple of years in the middle, I was a fine china manager, which was when I ran the wedding and gift registry. And then I was an assistant store manager. Once my youngest got into middle school and I could open up my schedule more, I became an assistant store manager. And then against my will, I became an operations manager. And then against my my will, my job
against
started
your
to
second
suck.
will.
Yeah, my job became hell. I hated it. But I'm sure it's a lovely place to work still.
So was that?
I wasn't going to name where I worked. Thanks,
the look
Mike.
on her face.
So now I'm
Yeah.
like,
She's
what
getting
do
on
I
me for dropping the
say?
name,
They're probably
yeah.
calling lawyers right now, like drafting
I don't
like
think you're the only one probably
letters
saying
or
that.
whatever.
If our podcast makes it that big, I'll know that.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I
you-
do have lots of friends that work there, and I still buy my shower curtain liners there. Just
Oh,
so you
good.
know.
Oh, I'm in the
Yes.
market for a new shower curtain
I'll
liner.
help you pick one out.
There you
Perfect.
go.
There you go.
Look at us. Was that Northeast customer service or Southern customer service that you practiced?
Really shouldn't
Christine
have
from
named where I
Massachusetts.
worked.
Yeah.
It is a very decentralized company. So I worked for 10 years in Massachusetts, and it was wonderful. Loved
You
it,
were
loved
with
it,
your
loved it,
people.
loved it, loved
Yeah.
it. And then I moved here, and I worked for the same company for about 8 years, and it was a job. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
It was a job. A job I used to love.
But you were with your people in Massachusetts. Everybody spoke the same language. You knew when
they
I was
understood
pointing.
me.
You knew when I was pointing. You knew I was yelling. You know what they both
I
meant.
knew everything. I had to change how I talked when I came here. See, I can say here. I said years a few minutes ago. No, I said here, like not here.
Here.
And I had to get my accent under wraps, and it would hurt my face. Like by the end of the day, my face would hurt. But I would get on the intercom and I'd be like, housewares assistance needed at the cookware desk, an associate, so housewares, right? I'd be saying that over the intercom and department, right? So assistance needed in the housewares department, and everybody would go like, so I had to change.
So where are you from?
I'm from Boston.
You're from Boston.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
technically, I'm from Quincy, which is not Quincy. It's Quincy. It's 7 miles south of Boston. My dad was a police officer in Boston. We did everything in Boston. I grew up on the coast. Totally different
Okay.
from here.
How did I not know this about you?
I don't know.
You going to cheer for the Celtics and the Red Sox now, like you're cheering for everybody,
Ooh,
every
I
other
used
team
to,
in the free world?
Hey, I've met
Don't get me
Celtics
started. Do not
down
get
in
me
the
started.
garden, outside the locker room, but I used to have to wait outside. I couldn't go in the locker room.
John Havlicek.
No, I met like
Back in my
Larry
day.
Bird. I've
Yep.
met ML Carr. I've
I
met
have
a whole bunch of them.
Have I ever told you my Larry Bird story?
Oh,
No,
tell me
you
your
have
Larry
not.
Bird story.
Oh gosh. So I had one of my favorite jobs I ever had is I worked at Indianwood Golf and Country Club in Michigan. Really nice golf course, private course, but they do a lot of fun events and lots of charity tournaments. And Larry Bird was at one of these, and I am self-proclaimed terrible at pop culture. So someone famous could walk into this room
that
right
is
now
so
and I
mean.
would
Oh
have
my God.
no idea who they are. So I was working an event and I had my little cocktail tray and I walked up to this very, very tall white man. And the first thing out of my mouth was like, "Man, you're really tall." And he laughs at me and puts his arm on my shoulder and jokes around, and he's like, "And you're kind of small." And we have like this moment, and I take his drink order and I walk back and I'm waiting for the bartender to make his drink. And he looks at me and he goes, "Do you know that you just made an ass out of yourself in front of Larry Bird?" And I was like, oh my gosh. But I don't know. I was picturing him, and sorry, Larry Bird, he's not like the most attractive guy. So I didn't know what he looked like. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's what all the hype was
His
Mm-hmm.
about.
nickname is the Hick from French Lick.
Oh, well, that's something new I learned.
Danny Ainge was really the only one back then that was cute. And he was short, too. You wouldn't even have thought he was a basketball player.
I just want to go back to
Okay.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh, my gosh.
And
Do we
you-
need to go shopping?
No.
Okay.
You on the microphone
Mm-hmm.
in the South. I just picture these screens around the store with subtitles.
Mm-hmm. No, it was more like you
Because
heard
they couldn't
things
understand
dropping.
your Northeast.
No, they couldn't. Yeah, that. But
Here,
also,
wait, over here. Wait, where? What?
Yeah, over here.
Just see southern subtitles.
Yep. I felt like when I would do that and I would put the phone down, I would go, oh my God. And I could just hear it. And it was like everything stopped in the store, you know? And And now, like, my accent is more prevalent now because, leaving that world, and as I moved into insurance and became more comfortable and I really enjoy what I do, that I'm more relaxed and more of like the true me comes out. So my accent is, it's back, but it's not in full force.
Right.
Oh my
But
God.
when you yell at the kids, it comes out, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but I can throw around all y'all's like I grew up saying it. Like I'll be like,
So when you go back north, because this is when I realized, is when I go back home.
yeah.
Everybody's like, say Raleigh, say Raleigh. You have such a southern accent, Raleigh, North Carolina.
That
And
does
I'm
not
like,
happen.
oh my gosh, I do sound like that.
No, not for
To
me.
them.
To them, I sound like I have a southern drawl.
Not
To
to
people
us
down
here,
here,
yeah.
they're like, no, you don't.
How long have you been here?
It has been almost 15 years.
Yeah, so I've been here 11. But when I go home, I just drop right back into it.
Oh, you
But
have
I'll
to,
throw down some y'alls because I say that
All the time.
naturally. Yeah,
Right.
it is part of like just my natural, vocabulary. But oh yeah, I just get right. I'm banging U's and I'm like doing whatever. I'm saying all the Boston.
When I
speak.
first moved here, I worked at Northwestern Mutual, and for the first 3 weeks I worked there as the receptionist before I got promoted. Pat myself on the back there. But man, answering the phone was the most difficult job I've ever done because I could not understand a lick. People would call from like down east, and I would have no clue whatsoever what they were saying. I had to ask them to spell stuff because I just had no idea.
You'll get one of these, hey, is Bill in? We're fixing to run, but I want to talk to him real fast.
I'm like, what? What? Speak English, please.
it was definitely hard to work with the public when I first came here. Sure.
I'm going to take the first question. I'm going to let you have the others, all right? So,
okay.
Newberry College.
Oh, Jeepers creepers.
I want to know, you were the recipient of the Golden
geez.
Pineapple
Yeah.
Award.
It doesn't. First of all, Newberry College just closed.
That sounds like a Miss
okay.
America pageant contest.
It
Well,
actually sounds like a swingers convention.
I should have worn my golden pineapple earrings and brought my award had
Now
I
you
known
have my
we were going
attention.
to.
Well, you know that the pineapple is the international symbol for if you're a swinger in a neighborhood, you put a pineapple
it's
outside.
not the international symbol of that. That's like the Fuquay symbol of that.
And the Wake
pineapple-
Forest symbol and
No.
the pineapple
No,
is
okay.
known as what you put out.
Yes, if you're a swinger.
You're a swinger.
Yes, that was totally like that was revealed like through like Fuquay Verena memes or something. It was this big to do with like Fuquay and Holly Springs, and I'd never heard of that. So just to repair the reputation of the pineapple, the
Yes.
pineapple is the international symbol of hospitality. And I went to Newberry College and I graduated with a degree in hospitality management, and I was also the president of the Innkeepers Club. Thank you very much.
What
Very nice.
What
Thank
is
you.
the Golden Pineapple Award awarded for?
And do you
I was
still
like
have
the
it?
best. Of course I do. It's like on a plaque. It's got a 3D pineapple on it. I'm very proud of my hospitality roots. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna send you an
I would've brought
email
it.
later asking for a headshot and a logo. Will you send me a picture of that too? I think we can have some fun with it.
I think we
yeah,
just hit
very
the nail
proud
on
of
the
it.
head why we get along so well because I loved hiring anyone that had
Worked in
success in the
hotels.
and worked
Yeah.
in hotels and
Yeah,
hospitality.
absolutely.
That's a
Because
life.
if you can do that, or if you're a really great waiter or waitress, there's so few people that are that people don't realize how much coordination and client service goes into keeping people happy when they're on vacation.
Oh yeah, I do love that too. Like I love being the hostess. I love making everybody happy. I like overseeing things, making sure, those people over there are doing what they're supposed to do. Those people over there are doing what they're supposed to do, and just making sure everybody's having a good time. So yes, I am a proud recipient of the Golden Pineapple Award. Thank you very much. I think that was 1990.
The rest
or
of the
91.
afternoon is yours. I am now
Yes,
complete.
Yes.
I am. Well, you did
that
ask what
is
it was, and I think
awesome.
it was just because I was just the most awesomest. And I met Julia Childs there, by the way. I just want to say
Ooh.
that, yes, I actually had a conversation with her there. And my husband went to school there, too. He was in the culinary arts department.
Bet he didn't get that award.
No, he did not.
Does he still cook?
For us,
For
yes,
you
but
guys.
not
Yeah.
professionally. He hates doing it professionally. It's really his hobby, and it keeps me from ever having to cook again, unless he dies. But if he dies, I just tell my kids that we would just
Carry
eat
the
out.
torch.
Well, no, we would just
No?
eat out.
Oh,
Yeah.
is he not teaching the kids how to cook?
Well, kind of. But I will tell you, if you had asked me questions to ask ahead of time, I would have told you to ask me what do my kids say is the best thing that mom makes when mom makes dinner? So the best thing that mom makes is buffalo chicken sandwiches. And I literally go to the store and I buy those frozen breaded chicken breasts and I warm them up in the oven and then I just melt butter and mix it with Frank's Red Hot and then I dip it in that and I put it on rolls and that is what my kids say is the best thing. And they mean it. They're like, can mom cook tonight? Like, can we have buffalo chicken sandwiches? It's very depressing. It's sad.
It sounds delicious.
I'll take it any day of the week.
Hey, you know what? At least you know what you're good at.
I know my limitations. I used to cook, but when you don't have to cook, why should you?
I used to cook a ton, and Scott is the person that tends to cook the most in our household, which I greatly appreciate. We actually had this conversation the other night, and he said, you know, there's times when you make me dinner and it's just such a special occasion. And I was like, I know. So if I did it all the time, it wouldn't be very special.
Yeah.
Like Haley's comment in the house.
I agree. Like, and hey, when I know my role, and my role is not the cooker. That is not my role.
I'm a husband and I know my role.
All right. Very good.
Well, speaking of roles, I love that you are in life insurance because I started my career working for a life insurance company. I am probably one of the biggest proponents of having a very strong plan because within the first 2 weeks that I took over a role of manager of, at the time they called them orphaned clients.
Oh yeah, I know they still use that term.
Okay, so I hate that term, but basically it's clients that their agent's no longer with the company for whatever reason.
Right.
And so these orphaned clients became my clients. And I got a phone call my second week doing that job, and I had to deliver a disability policy and a life insurance policy to a woman whose son was 26 and passed away. Hardest two things I've ever done in my life was the first was a dentist, and he was devastated because even with his disability insurance, it still wasn't close to what he'd had as a full-time working dentist. Right. So I saw the value very, very early on in a really good plan.
It is important. Have a good plan and have enough.
To have enough, yeah.
To have enough.
And it's something that people just don't want to think about.
Nope, they don't want to
Nobody
think about
wants
it
to
at
think
all.
about dying. No, nobody wants to think about my business partner dying.
We'll deal with it later.
Yeah,
Especially
we'll just
men.
deal with it later.
Men more than women do not want to talk about it. Nope, not at all.
Yeah. So how do you find that you are able to get people to open up and have that discussion?
Well, yeah, it's funny. So usually it is the woman that will invite me to have a conversation with the couple. And really it's just about letting them know that, you know, they're not the only ones in this situation, right? That, so I guess we're talking about like, how do we get people to open up?
Yeah.
Well, really, you have to ask people to stop and think. So, Trinity, if you and Mike were married, we won't use Scott's name, let's just say Mike. If Mike were to die tomorrow, like, what does life look like for you?
We're shit out of luck because we have no plan, Mike.
Yeah, right? So the podcast would shut down.
It would.
You know, things would just not be normal anymore. But really, it's about that, just asking people, sometimes just getting them to talk about the tough things. Like, what would life look like for you or for her, if you died tomorrow? That's a big thing because men don't want to think about it. They're the protector in most cases. They're they still think they're the provider, even though I think there's statistics out there about how much we're making. But anyways,
we are making our way up the food
That's
chain.
Right. I was the breadwinner in my family for almost all the time. But anyways.
And I was a little ahead of the curve because I had a strong mom. But I was in college and right out of college, and I'd meet these guys like, well, I don't want my wife making more money than me. I'm like, dumbass, it's your own. It goes to the same bank account.
Yeah.
So your ego can't take it that your wife's a doctor and you're not, and she's making $300,000. What are you complaining about?
My husband never cared, which is good.
You shouldn't.
Mine doesn't either.
You should want
It's
your
all in the
spouse
family.
to excel. Yes,
Yeah,
and it goes
right?
to the same damn account.
Exactly.
Never understood
It's
that.
for
And
the
you
betterment
never
of all of
know
us.
when the tides may change
Mm-hmm.
and you have to switch roles, and your spouse might be the one that's
Exactly. Like when one spouse decides they want to quit their job after 18 years.
Right.
And start a
start
whole
a
new
business.
that they've never had anything to do with before.
We haven't heard that yet on this show.
So let's that's a great lead-in question to what was the turning point when you had the kahunas to make that leap?
When I was crying in my office at work because I was so miserable. I hated my job. Hated it. I mean, a million times hated my job. And I literally was crying. And I would come home from work and I would like drop my bag. There was a specific day where I came home from work and I dropped my bags because I was always bringing work home in this last position, working on schedules and all kinds of crap that I just couldn't care less about nowadays. But I dropped my bags down on the floor. And I'm in the kitchen. My husband's in the living room. And I burst into tears. And he was just like, oh my God, like what the hell is wrong? And I was just like, I hate my job. I hate everything about it. I hate my life right now. And, so that is sort of propels you to make a change.
Yep.
And on the flip side, my best friend had been nagging me for like 3 years to get into life insurance. We had both worked for the same company. We followed very similar paths, and she had gotten out before me, was doing life insurance and loved it and was very successful and making lots of money. And she just kept telling me like, leave and do this, leave and do this. And well, my husband would hear her say that. So when I dropped those bags and burst into tears, for him, that was like, oh, it's time, you can leave and you should go be a life insurance agent. So
well,
that's
you
really how it
decided to get
started.
into one of the most competitive
Yes. Oh my gosh.
industries.
Yes.
So the two most competitive industries and with the highest failure rate are real estate and life insurance.
But business coaching doesn't fall in the top 5, yes.
Nope.
Yes,
but you are correct.
Our retention rates in both of our industries are abysmal. You have been going strong now for how many years?
Just about to celebrate my 3rd anniversary.
Okay, so you've made it over the 2-year hump. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a lifer.
Yep.
Yes.
And was there anything that you ever thought that you would do? Like, did you pursue any other paths, or
No.
was it always just life insurance? And you knew that that was going to be it?
Well, no, I resisted actually. I actually resisted. I tried to keep it away from my girlfriend that I was quitting. And I was like working on my resume and I was going to, I set up some interviews. I was applying for some jobs. And my husband just kept saying, why are you doing all that when you could just go and do life insurance and be like your friend? And I think I felt like I had to do these things. Like I had to get a resume and I had to get out there and, pound the pavement and interview and all that. And why?
Right.
And I had this great opportunity. And so I decided, okay, I will start taking the course. And actually, before I quit, I started the course. I mean, I didn't just quit and then go, now what? But I started the course. And, there are people that will tell you, oh, yeah, I got licensed in 2 days. I took the course in 2 days. I got licensed. I was selling life insurance 5 days later. Yeah, great. Where are you now? Right? So for me, if I was making this kind of change, it was going to be a career change, okay? And it needed to be a thoughtful change, and it needed to mean something. So I took my time studying and learning. I filled a whole notebook. I'm a paper girl, and I wrote my notes. And as I took my online course, even though you only needed a 70 to advance, I wouldn't allow myself to advance unless I had an average of an 88. And I would keep track of my scores. And it got to, I was literally writing down my scores and averaging them out. And, it just got to the point where I was just 100, 100, 100, let myself move on. I studied my notes. I just took it very seriously because the more I learned, the more I realized how important what I was going to be doing could be. And I wanted it, like I said, to be a new career because this is my 3rd career. And they say on average, Americans have 3 careers. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is my last career. And I wanted it to count. So, I just became very passionate about it from the beginning. Soon as I started to peek under the cover, and just realized how important it was and how much of an impact I could make on people's lives. So,
yeah, that's
How
awesome.
long was that window from the time you quit to the time you decided why interview with everybody?
Well, I was doing all that behind the scenes. So like
Before
I
you
didn't
quit.
Oh yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I mean I wasn't going to quit and then be like, now what? Right? So I mean I planned it. So I did my studying, I got my license. I turned in my resignation on September 11th, which is my birthday. That was like my birthday gift. It turned in my letter of resignation. The whole place went crazy. Like I literally got a phone call from my district manager. What are you doing? You're crazy. Why? You're supposed to be a store manager. Why are you leaving? I said, I've been in your store for 6 months, and this is the first time you've called me. Like, literally, it was the first time he had called me, and I had always wanted to work for this guy. For, like, years, I knew him, and I really wanted to work in his district. And, like, the first time he picked up the phone to call me was the
when
day
you were leaving.
when he found out I was
We
leaving.
did a podcast on bad management.
Right?
Yes.
And he's a great guy, like, super nice guy, but...
Yeah, that's
Goes
not
to
what you
show
said.
you
Yeah.
need to check in with
Yep.
your employees
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
consistently because you don't know what they're thinking.
From day one, when you took over that store, would that have made a difference if he was working with you, do you think?
No, I was never, they used to talk all the time, you work towards store management, you're going to have a store. Well, the store I wanted, a person I consider, a friend, like a peripheral friend, right? But someone who I highly regard runs the store that I want to run. So why would I pursue a position at a particular store when there's someone who is,
that you like
employed in
right.
that position? It was never going to happen. I guess it could have, but it wouldn't have been the right thing. I was not heading in the direction I wanted to go in. I thought I wanted to be a store manager. My heart and my passion is in training. And with life insurance, when I'm sitting down like kneecap to kneecap with someone at the kitchen table, because I go to my clients, except right now we're all virtual, but I get to educate them on what life insurance can do for them and what life insurance would mean for their family if, God forbid, something happened to you. So there's still that education. So many people really don't know anything about life insurance, which is why so many people don't have it. I really believe that. They get it from their employer. It's easy. They sign some forms. They don't even think about it again.
Right.
But
they don't think about it until something happens or something happens to somebody in their family, and all of a sudden they're like, why didn't we have this?
Yeah. But education is the
From
key
September
for me.
11th, when you turned in your notice, to when you got licensed and put your shingle out or your name somewhere. How long are we talking?
From the time I gave my notice
Yes.
to like my first appointment was almost a month.
Oh, wow. That's nothing. Okay.
But remember, I had been doing all my studying and learning prior to that.
Yeah, to squeeze that into a month, that's impressive.
Well, I gave them a 2-week notice, but then I said, but I'm not working it because I gave up my appointment, my vacation week a couple weeks ago because this other manager screwed up the schedule, and so I gave up my vacation. So I was like, so I'm taking that vacation, and so I didn't really work it. It was no way in hell I was staying for 2 weeks.
Right. I've been in jobs like that before.
They were lucky I
Makes
didn't
my
walk out.
Skin crawl.
I mean, I just didn't walk out because you can't do no. And the responsibilities I had at that store at the time, I wanted to make sure that I could at least leave things in a way that hopefully somebody would come in and be able to take over.
It's a trickle-down effect for the people that worked for you, that if you leave, and then they got to cover that.
Yeah. The store that I left finally, though, I was only there for like 6 months or whatever, and it wasn't my home. So I didn't have any... It wasn't sad for me to leave that store. I had never it just, I don't know. You know what I mean? It just never felt like home.
Well, I think that it's really important. But back on the business aspect of things, what would you say in the last 3 years has been your biggest success?
Well, my biggest success is that I no longer rely on someone else for my paycheck and my happiness. Like, for me, that's my success. So to have one big success, no, every day, honest, this sounds so silly, but there isn't any one successful moment, because every time I put a policy on a family, it's a success. Anytime they get approved. I literally still skip around my house. Yesterday, I was like, ooh, 4 policies today. That's a huge win. That's a success. That's 4 people covered. It was 2 different families protected. I don't know, somebody nominated, they're all popularity contests, but somebody nominated me for the Indie Award. That was really exciting. Somehow I got nominated for the WRAL thing. So that was exciting, So that's fun. I went through Launch Holly Springs a couple years ago, and being chosen to be in that class and go through that course and have that support of the community, that was a huge win. There's been so many successes. There isn't one.
I love that.
Sorry, I didn't have a real answer.
That is a real answer. It's your honest answer. Well, on the flip side of that, what has been the biggest either stressor or failure that you've had to overcome?
Well, there is a lot of stress, as you know, with the job. The biggest thing I've had to overcome is I've had to teach myself and train myself to not want it for the client more than they want it. And that is so hard for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, yay. I'm sorry, I like totally banged the table. But
That's
I'm just
okay.
like,
You get
I'm so
passionate about
excited.
it.
Like, you want to talk about life insurance. Yes, like you've come over the hill. You understand it's important. And I'm so excited. And, I think, great, they know they want life insurance, so why won't we be taking care of this? And then they don't. And it's like, it's a gut punch, And there's people where I've had 1, 2, 3 meetings with, and they still won't
pull the trigger.
No, and that kills me. So the biggest thing for me, and I say it out loud because I've had to train myself, I can't want it more than them, even though I know it's the right thing, even though I firmly believe you only get what you can pay for. Right? Like, having life insurance should allow you to sleep at night. Paying the life insurance bill should not keep you up at night. Right? So I'm like a firm believer in that. And I want it so bad for people, and people still...
Yeah, and they'll still go to Starbucks and order that
Oh,
grande,
don't even get me
double,
started.
triple frappuccino 5 times a week.
And for them and their 3 kids.
Right.
I mean, we have families that go
Gotta
to
throw
Starbucks.
those egg bites in there.
Well, everybody's walking out with a super duper luxury frappuccino at $5 or $6 a piece, 3 kids and mom, and you're talking $40, and life insurance can be $30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could be taking care of those 3 kids if, God forbid, you get hit by the car leaving Starbucks and die.
Exactly.
Those kids aren't going to care about the Starbucks anymore.
It is your love letter to your loved ones.
Yeah, people love to say that, right?
Yep.
I every now and then
true.
I say life insurance is love insurance.
Aww,
Right?
that's
Every
so
now and then
sweet.
I'll be a little meme on my Facebook page, but it is. It's the best thing you can do. It's the best gift you can give your family.
So we talk a lot about networking. Mm-hmm. I think that you are a quintessential networker. You just, some days I just aspire to be Christine when it comes to networking. What would you say are your favorite, you started one of your own networking groups, right?
Right. Yes. The Holly Springs Small Business Networking Group.
Yes. And that came out of a partnership with another person?
Well, it came out of me realizing one day that I lived in Holly Springs and I was driving to Apex for the Apex Small Business Networking Group. And then I was driving to Fuquay for the Fuquay Small Business Networking Group, 2 groups that I love. And I realized one day, why don't I have one in Holly Springs? What's going on in Holly Springs? Why don't we have one? And that was the honest to God truth. I was just like, I want one here too. Mm-hmm. And so I gave it some thought. I wrote some notes, kind of came up with a little outline, knew what I wanted to do because I was going to both of those groups and they were my inspiration. And I thought, well, I'll just steal the name because it's not trademarked or anything.
Right.
And plus I wanted it, I want people from both of those groups to come too, right? Just like I went to them, I wanted them to feel welcome as well. And so when you do something right, it's always good to have a partner. Mm-hmm. And 2 brains are better than 1, right?
Absolutely.
And I also, honest to God, thought, what if I was sick one day?
That's what we should have named
and
the
I couldn't
podcast.
do it.
What?
Two brains are better than one. And you could have still had your 2
We
and a
weren't
1.
thinking.
Could have had 2 numerals.
Oh, well. The
But
next
anyways.
one we do, we'll name it that.
Well, so I just realized, I shouldn't do it alone. And when I had... So to give total props to my friend Diane, Diane found out, we're neighbors, Diane Kinlaw, Go Prime Mortgage. If you need a lender, call Diane. Diane and I live 10 houses away from each other. We've lived there the whole time I've lived in North Carolina. Our kids were best friends when they were little. And she was corporate. I was corporate. She had quit her job. I didn't know because we didn't run in the same circles. And then I quit my job. We both ended up at my neighbor's 50th birthday party. And she came in and was like, oh my God, you quit your job. I heard, and this is fabulous. And she swooped in and was like, let me tell you about networking. And so when it came time for wanting to start the Holly Springs Small Business Networking Group, I was like, well, who else would I want to do this with than with Diane Kinlaw? So called her and I was like, let's have a meeting. We had a meeting at her house. I brought my notes. She brought her ideas. And it was we wanted the exact same thing. So awesome.
That is exactly how I recommend people start a networking group.
Well, there you go.
You just have to start. And I'm sure that it's morphed and grown
Oh, my
and
God.
changes and grows and it looks different. And that is totally okay.
Absolutely. Meet your people where they are and meet their needs. And we started at the Holly Springs Co-working Station back in August of 2018. And we had, I think, 12 people at the first meeting. And we meet twice a month. And we'd have like 12 to 16 people. And within a few months, it was standing room only. And we moved from there to Bombshell Beer Company. Thank you, Bombshell. They allow us to use the space there. And we've had as many as 70 people. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but on average, I would say about 50, 55. Too many to the point where like we don't do like 30-second commercials every meeting because we
There's
can't.
just too many people.
No,
Right.
no. And it has morphed a little bit. We evolved into, it's a little different than most networking groups, but for the first half hour, we open network. Because just listening to people and taking feedback and just checking the pulse of the group, they loved that time together. And then we move into the other steps after that. But yeah, it's a great group. I love it. I love getting the feedback. I'm happy to be a part of it. I've met a lot of great people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we love meeting great people as well. So if you out there in listener land would like to meet us, please email us info@wiredtochange.com. And that's with the number 2. If you want to get a hold of Christine, which I recommend you do, how do they get a hold of you, dear?
They can email me at walorztina@gmail.com, WALORZTINA@gmail.com, or they can hit up my website at walorzinsurance.com, or they can find me on Facebook.
Or you can stalk us and we'll introduce you.
Sure.
The website with the new logo, I might add.
Yes, my new logo.
Very nice, yes.
Thanks to Wake Tech Marketing Department. Another plug. Just all about the plugs
We're just
today.
plugging away.
I know,
We're
plugging
plugging
away.
Like a NASCAR
I can give you
driver.
more.
Love it.
And I want to plug away that you should go out, you should like, you should subscribe, you should share this podcast with all those people that you care about because everyone needs these 3 brains. 3 brains are better than 2.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll see you next time on our Wired to Change podcast.